Hey guys, so today we played Burn on stream and we got some really good games in. I decided I wanted to make a guide on the deck. Now, before you say anything, I think that Burn is a much harder deck to play than people give it credit for, but I want to clarify on that. It does have a very low skill floor, or is it a high skill floor? I can never remember with floor. It's very easy to play. Like, you can give Burn to a new player and they'll do very well up to a point, but the skill ceiling is very high. There's a lot of different things you can do in Burn, and there's a ton of interesting decision making that you have to make. And if you guys watch these games that I had from the stream earlier that we're gonna play, you'll see a lot of what I mean by that. But yeah, I think when you think about it in that way, you might find it's more of kind of like an interesting deck, and I would say it might be more fun to play than you immediately give it credit for when you see like some of the things we're thinking about and doing, because it does actually open up a lot of cool things. Anyway, on to just, the actual, guide. I have here, this is like a very work in progress version. Don't read into this. Like there's a couple of one-ofs in this that I'm just kind of experimenting with, and we'll see what's up. But what I will do is I'll link you guys the pinned comment in the description, in the pinned comment of the video. I'll link you guys to the Mobalytics page for this deck, where you'll find the updated version, which is basically, it will be updated to whatever version. I always keep these decks updated. It'll be the version that I like most currently. Okay. I don't normally do this this kind of like intro. Like, I'm just doing a recording for YouTube, and then I'm putting like a gameplay footage thing from Twitch after, like what that you're gonna see in a second. It's nice. Maybe I'll start doing it more. I kind of like, because I don't feel like I get to directly talk to a lot of the YouTube guys. You guys, mostly you guys just kind of see me talking to the Twitch guys. Don't tell them, but I like you guys better. You're much more civil. So just, but yeah, no, I might start doing this more. So yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and send it on to Stream Swim now, and he'll break down the deck for you. Take it away, Swim. Good Burn players draw like this every time, by the way. Just let you guys know. This is the difference between a good Burn player and a bad Burn player. If you're a bad Burn player, you don't draw like this. The fuck? Like, this is stupid. What the hell? I repeat. Okay, we're on. Whatever. I don't know. There's a good chance I'm supposed to pass here. Who actually has Thermo though? Again, I'm just gonna be completely honest with you guys. You have to be a really... Yeah, this joke's old already. Whatever. I mean, you should always do the disciple first, right? It can't possibly make sense to not disciple first. I have default emotes. Okay, make the best out of a bad situation. There's no good default emotes here. It would be a decent Quinn, but it's a bad Heimer. It would be a decent Vlad, but it's a bad Shen. Braum is no good. There's actually, like, none of the vanilla emotes are good here. This game is so fucking pay to win. Holy shit. Like, if I was a free-to-play player, I'd be fucked here. Look at this. Jinx is probably the best one, but it's not even good. It's okay. It's okay.
With quiet steps, the dragon approaches.
You have to transfusion first if you attack. Acting first is just always bad. Like, you just want to act second no matter what. I actually kind of don't want to attack before I demolitionist.
Remember the objectives.
I hate acting first. I want him to like try to gotcha this so I can fuck him. I mean, it's probably not. Good players wouldn't gotcha this. It's like, how could the hand that drew 3 disciples and animate demolitionist, how could it also have drawn a transfusion? What are the odds? That wouldn't happen. Not in this universe. This is a just and karmic universe. And again, I don't think there's good emotes here. What are the odds that this attack is actually secretly bad? Okay, what do you guys think? I think that this attack is actually secretly good. Let's attack.
If I must, you lack subtlety. Oh, this hurts.
Oh my god. It's not even the 3rd demolitionist. Man, I never get good luck.
I need no weapon.
I mean, he's sort of the one who has to spend the mana, right? I really want to use Decimate when he's tapped under Deny. How does he exist without playing this mana right here? How could he not play this mana? Isn't this a pass? Wouldn't any good player pass here? Why wouldn't I pass?
Eminently logical.
Heimer Vi should be running 0 health pots, right? Who the hell runs health pots in Heimer Vi? Start off with forcing the deny on Mystic Shot so that I can get the static off. So this passes action back to him, and he's kind of forced. No, he can like skip his action with the turret.
Yes, again.
We can't be vulnerable against like some second deny hands though. That can be a little awkward. What are the odds he could kill us if we Static Shock here? Static Shocking is shockingly almost awkward. He didn't flash, which means he can't really have it, right? No, that's not true at all. I can force him to have, like, Get Excited. It's so easy for him to have it. I just want him to tap under a point, but if I play Teemo, then I can't shock. I don't think there's any reason I need to shock this turn. I think the best play has to be Teemo. If he taps under 3, we win. Give him a chance to mess up there.
You'll never know what hit him.
Can I just do this?
As fate wills.
This is so weird.
Signing off.
I mean, I can't really play it reactively, right? He has so many answers. It's not worth doing. It's not worth doing. So the correct play, if I'm going to do it, it should be on Demolitionist instead of Crimson Disciple to stop Mystic Shot from getting there. I'm less worried about his action, though. He needs, like, a really weird hand to feel comfortable here. Like, Second Deny is a lot of mana, and then he can, like, deal 8 over the top would be the biggest thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty big, too. It's, like, 4. So you run 2 Spirit's Refuges. So if you move in last turn, you're at really low odds. And you have no safety blocker no matter what you do, since this card is fearsome. There's not a good way to beat the Refuge hand. That's kind of the only problem. Let the attack go through and tank to 8. It's really greedy of him to not Refuge on the attack. Static Shocking on the attack had to be wrong. I'm just supposed to tank it and go to 8. Because 8's a safety range. We don't have anything at fast, so double Get Excited and Mystic could kill us, but that's too specific. So yeah, I was supposed to... I played the last turn properly, but I was supposed to let his attack go through. But also, if he wasn't greedy, he would just Spirit's Refuge on the attack, right? So, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Should have dropped Demo last round. Guys, if we drop Demo last round, we almost certainly lose. We're not going to be in a hurry to Get Excited, I think. I don't think so. I played the last round correctly. The misplay was here. It was really dumb for me to static shock there. Like, thinking back, I literally just forgot Spirit's Refuge was a thing. Like, I win the game if I just skipped combat. It's such an easy win.
If they don't break, they'll burn.
Like, you can't, there's no reason to play in a way that's counterable. I understand that the perception of burn is it's a super brain dead deck that doesn't matter how you play it. And don't get me wrong, you'll climb to like diamond for free playing brain dead, but there is a surprising amount of decisions here. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's like the hardest deck in the game or it's like brain surgery, but you actually do have to think about it. That being said, we did misplay. I'm not like we played far from perfectly. We misplayed the like it was really, really terribly stupid using that static shock. Made no sense. Explain. So the odds of that working, if we demolitionist, the odds of it going through are really low. He's floating more of mana. He's floating 4 mana. What are his outs? Let's count his outs. Most versions of the deck are running 3 deny. He's used 1 already, so that's 2 deny outs. Okay? Most versions of the deck are running 3 will. He's used 0. 3 will outs. 5 outs. He's floating 4 intentionally, which by the way implies he's got something. Most versions of the deck are running hang on, let me pull up the exact list so we can be thorough and count them. Right? Like the odds of going through with that 4 mana are really, really, really low. Right? Get Excited, he had, I think he used 1 Get Excited earlier? Or was I thinking of the other game? Yeah, he used 1 Get Excited earlier, right? Like, so he had 2 of those. That's 7 outs. I might be missing 1 or 2. I don't think it's very common to run like gacha in this kind of thing. Like they're all running. They seem to mostly just not be running gacha. There's some chances of that. It's like, so when you add together those 7 cards that he could have, plus the fact that he's passing at 4 mana, I'm estimating to the closest like 5%, but you end up with about a 90% chance. Arguably like 95. The reason it's arguable is because you can do the math assuming mulligans, and assuming mulligans is easy, but then it is sort of debatable what the implication of him keeping 4 mana up is. Which, you know, I mean, that's always going to be a little anecdotal. But it's somewhere between 90 and 95% that we get thwarted there. And if we wait, we are putting enough pressure on him to force him to act second. The whole point is like, one of the most fundamental things of this game is like, because of how the stack works, you need to force the opponent to act first. And you should think about this with like every deck you play, not just aggro. This is like how this deck works. That's why this deck is good. It's because it puts out so much pressure that your opponent has to act first. If you let them, if you as the burn player let them act first, they have to act first. And what that means is when they go in for grasp, you fervor. You never open fervor when the opponent has mana up. Right? So you want to play kind of passive in an aggressive way. You want to be passive aggressive. You know? It's like you force their action and then you go in for the kill. That's the idea here. But it also applies to a lot of other decks. Like this kind of thing is why a lot of deck matchups are the way that they are, because it just comes down to which deck forces the opponent to act first. The reason why like Karma is powerful is because she represents such ridiculous inevitability that she forces the opponent to act. And when you as Ionia in particular, but also any slow deck, can force the opponent to act first, you're good, right? Like that's the combo. Deny is kind of not that good unless you can engineer a situation where you force the opponent to act first. I'm not trying to say I'm like the best burn player. I'm not. There's certain things about burn that I'm actually very curious on and want to learn. But at the same time, I do want to be able to show you guys that there's more to the deck than just unadulterated brainlessness. And this is for burn players and burn haters alike. Jinx is extremely necessary. Okay, sell me on Jinx. I see arguments. I don't know if I'm huge on Jinx, but she's one of my considerations. She is. I like what she's trying to do. I will say, if she was drawn just a little bit different, I might love Jinx. But just like I like the idea of like a surprise emote, but she's kind of like sort of over-exaggerated in a way that just like loses a lot of versatility. Twisted Fate Gangplank. I think I keep Static Shock in this hand. It's fine. So it's gonna seem really weird. We're kicking Anime Demolitionist and we're keeping Static Shock. Seems super strange, right? So Shadow Isles as a counter to Burn. A lot of people have this impression that Shadow Isles hard counters Burn, and I think that can be true. I think I always drag this with Boom Crew Rookie. Yeah, that just seems better. Why wouldn't I do that? It's like saves my rookie health anyway. So the thing about Shadow Isles versus Burn is yes, they have healing, and that can counter Burn, but the thing is, healing is very expensive in Runeterra. It like Grasp costing like 5 mana, you know, Whale costing 5 mana just for 3 points of health. Healing is very expensive in this game, especially in those cards. So they end up not being able to put pressure on, which means that against Burn, yeah, they can heal, but without putting pressure against Burn, they're just gonna draw more Burn cards. Time is not on your side against Burn. You need to be killing them before they kill you. To a degree, you do need to race them down while stabilizing. And what that means is, like, that's why Static Shock is in this deck. That's why I think it's important, and that's why I like it at 2, even though a lot of people run it at 1.
Let's make it deep.
Which is because it counters Shadow Isles. It allows you to not run out of steam against Shadow Isles. And that's how you beat them. Because all they can do is run you out of resources. They can't kill you. Shadow Isles is the slowest region in the game, and they're playing against something that has like the best, like, time is on Burn's side better than time is on anyone's side, as long as they don't run out of resources. So that's why I keep Static Shock. Also, we had a 1 and a 2. If I didn't have a 1 and a 2, I wouldn't keep it. And then lastly, Anime Girl is not something you actually really want to play early and without Disciple, and our odds of hitting Disciple are lower because we're kicking Shallow. We're only kicking one thing there, the girl herself. So I think we're pretty good to open attack and force the first action. I don't know, Static Shock is not going to do a ton here though. I would rather Transfusion. He's going to have a spell that's going to be pretty big. I don't know about this play. I shouldn't have dragged this, I guess. I mean, we're stopping the Boom Crew from dying though, because if he blocks with Deckhand, then the Boom Crew does die, right? I don't know, this might have been the right play. This is a weird position to be in. Oh, also, we only run 2 Static Shocks, so our odds of drawing the second one was low. If we ran 3 Static Shocks, I probably might not have made that kick. But because we have 2, we kind of want to keep it. We get less punished by drawing a second one. Of course, it's funny to say because we drew the second one on like turn 1, but of course, you know, that's not supposed to happen like that. Okay, so easiest transfusion of my career, right? Stop the Vile Feast. I guess we're keeping something alive. Stopping the healing and stopping the spider is really neat. And without anything great, yeah, I think this just looks good. So he gets the, I'm gonna quote, keep the keg, but it's starting to rookie. So if he doesn't use it here, he loses it, which is great. So yeah, transfusion is just good. Save Teemo. So I can transfusion one of my other things into Teemo, and then I give him the spider. I give him 2 health off of his Vile Feast. You know, we deal damage, and we hit a mushroom, and then Teemo will die to something else. We have a lot of 1 health units in hand and no way to protect them, so we don't want to like overextend into stuff like whales or even make it rain. It's very important to note that I guess I just play these cards now. It's very important to note that Crimson Disciple counts as a way to protect my cards, because if he make it rains or whales, he gets punished if I have a Disciple. So even though it's not keeping my cards alive, it's hurting his play to counter my cards, which is the same thing, right? It's value. If I had more transfusions or Crimson Disciples, or even maybe Fervor kind of stuff, maybe? Nah, I don't think Fervor enough. Then maybe I would kind of keep Teemo alive at 1 health with a hand that's heavy on 1 health units. But against like this deck, which he's running the slow version of the deck, No Misfortune. That means he's running 3 Whale and 3 Make It Rain. And we haven't seen any of those yet. And those are both auto keeps in this matchup, by the way. This is a crazy turn. We always pass back here. I think we do. It looks weird. If you're thinking about aggro in conventional terms, the idea of like passing mana seems insane, but we're happy slow playing this. We don't have to race him down. He can't kill us very fast, right? And we just want to be able to play like very reactively, as reactively as possible. So we've got 9 mana, which means we've got static or static fervor. We have a pretty alright attack here off of that. Using Saboteur wouldn't tap us out of any of those combinations, although Grenadier would stop us from doing this. Saboteur does make it vulnerable to a whale. We're always going to stop the whale from hitting 2, but we can't stop it from hitting 1. I think I just full swing here and just do the same thing. I'm just dragging the keg with Rookie every time. This feels quite good. Don't we increase the odds of him getting healing by passing? Here's the thing. That you might think that. Like that's why some players might think that time is on the Shadow Isles side. I have much more burn in my deck than he has healing in his. My deck is all burn. I'm always drawing burn. He's rarely drawing healing, right? That's the important thing. So Make It Rain's dealing 2 damage to these. I can... One of them is face. I'll do this. I think this is fairly straightforward. I can't use Fervor until he's tapped out. This is the much more counterable play. Static Shock wants to deal 1 to face. We can't save our pet, and that's okay. If we had used the second Static Shock proc on the other deckhand, we wouldn't have done much. Keeping Boom Kuroki at +1 health is actually probably going to be relevant, by the way. Like, every point of health matters against his deck. He always kills your unit by, like, you know, little things that do little damages. So it's always going to matter. So at 2 mana fast speed, his way here of popping the keg is with Make It Rain. If I shock now, his powder keg gets used, but he gets a really terrible Make It Rain. It kills my Rookie, which is like at least a little sad. I think I can't do anything weird. I think I just play my cards. He didn't really... Man. I don't want to play into his Make It Rain though, so I think I'll chill here. And that's the thing about Burn, it's a really flexible archetype. You can play slower, you can play fast. A lot of people think it has to play fast and it usually benefits from playing fast, but I'm very happy with how this game is going. Now, we do need to kill him before he gets like Dreadway. Usually Twisted Fate Gangplank without Misfortune is full control keg, which means, yeah, Dreadway is what you expect, so maybe Ledros. Yeah, I mean, we'll kill him by that turn, but we've got plenty of time until then. It's like, he's at 10 health. We're threatening a lot every turn with this mana and these cards. And he has to do things. He can't really pass back to me, because I can usually have pretty good passes back to him, like last time. It's totally fine. I'll always just snap block with Grenadier, looks good. So Gangplank's 2 out of 5, its level never matters. Is he passing here? I think he is, wow. No weird play here, looks good. I just want to play full reactive. Again, it's like we were explaining in the last game. You need to force them to act first. That's just how you win, right? So he's thinking about a keg for 2. If we play anything other than his Boom Crew, he can kill it with like Whale or Make It Rain. He's usually on one of those options. And we do have the static to stop that, but it's not always reliable. So we break the Merchant, not too surprising. It's like part of the reason we're not letting that through, but I'm always going to block that no matter what, right? So he's just thinking he wants like Make It Rain odds. If I play Grenadier and he can't remake It Rain, I'm pretty happy, so I will play the Grenadier here. If he Whales, I static, and at 2 mana he can't really stop that, so it'll only kill the Grenadier. I'm pretty happy with that. Both of my Boom Crews are attacking. If you Make It Rains, yeah, I'll Static Shock. He's playing for some odds. Usually one of them will go face, and only the Grenadier should die. He's using less mana, so he might have a re-response, but he doesn't get the health. And we got him, right? That's the thing. Like, you force them to grasp first and you're just good. Like, if you grasp first, they're fucked. Like, the amount of value that just got swung on that is absolutely ridiculous. However, we still have to put him on Make It Rain, I think. So I don't think we can play our other Saboteur here. Looks like a comfy open attack. Wait, why would I open attack here? We get the Boom Crew guaranteed. The Boom Crew is already pretty guaranteed because we have the Static Shock for the Powder Keg anyway. So the worst case scenario is the Saboteur does nothing, but I think she's already doing nothing, right?
Explosives primed.
So playing one is fine. It's just because we're scared of his fast speed stuff and not his slow speed stuff. Now, the Make It Rain at pre-combat can sometimes stop this 2 damage, but that's only if we don't kill the keg, which we have a way to. So developing the other one would play a little too deeply into Whale, and hurts our Get Excited top deck. We have 2 outs for that on the straw, so we will take the swing in here. I'm just like, I'm abusing this Boom Crew interaction so hard. This is just so trolling, man. Like, this is great. I love this matchup. My Boom Crew has never just not attacked. Like, it's unblockable. My Boom Crew has elusive because he keeps playing these kegs. Like, that's so good, dude. 3 health is a little too much for Boom Crew. Yeah, same, dude. But yeah, it's going to be a learning process for me, too. I'm actually not like I feel comfortable with Burn. It's a deck that I'm pretty comfortable on. But there's usually, like, once a game, there's a decision that I'm like, man, what would I do here? And you have to think differently than normal decks. So it's going to be a learning process for me, too. Like, there's still plenty I have to learn about this this archetype. So yeah, that's pretty good. Grasp for 3. You know, he's killing his own guy. He's at 4 here, so we can stop the lifesteal and hit like this. His guy will still die, and he goes down to 2 on our draw. So, because Drain gets amplified by the keg, we're doing 1 extra point of damage by stopping the Drain potentially. And his Gangplank will still die here since we have 30 plus 2. And yeah, when you think about it, I mean, the matchup will kind of always end up like this just from the opening hand, right? So it's like Dreadway into Concede. I mean, is there... Oh yeah, now that Dreadway's on the board, he could counter Fervor with like a Make It Rain or a Mystic Shot. That is technically true. That is actually true.
I have my orders.
So I can't just like open Fervor here. This card's actually like kind of... I think this card is one of the higher potential cards right now. It's actually like... It's a 9 mana card, and of course 9 mana cards have to be insane to be good. But it is actually insane. Like, Dreadros, or not Dreadros, but Dreadway, like, with PNZ kind of deck, could actually be maybe really good. Like, it just with, like, 1 or 2 card changes. It's not quite there yet, but it could almost be there, maybe. Yeah, we're good. There's no, like, weird plays you could make here. Okay. So yeah, I would say, I guess the one thing is, like, the one tip in general with Burn, and you'll have seen this in both of the last 2 games we played, is just, don't be afraid to slow down your games. Like, don't be afraid to play kind of passively. And, again, it depends on the situation, right? But you shouldn't always feel like you're on a clock. Don't get me wrong, I know there's plenty of you guys that want nothing less than to see me play Burn out of all decks. But I think it's interesting to at least cover it for a little bit, right? Because we don't normally play it very much. And I need to get better at it. Garen Fiora. So this is Tito, Crimson Disciple. We like our plays here. Mystic Shot. It's not going to be good. Okay. And, you know, like I say, every good player will always draw cards like this. Interesting thing about Tito is, like, the double draw turns it into a Mushroom Cloud. Unfortunately, this is, like, a matchup where it's not going to be able to keep the Tito alive, but second Tito will hit value. It's not impossible that this Tito levels up. Wow, what a hand. That's so good for me. Holy shit. That's nuts. Yeah, I think he just lost. That's crazy. The fact that he couldn't play a card here. It's going to be really hard for him to win now. And like, I don't like calling games early. It seems kind of like a dick move to do, and it always makes you look bad if like the 10 or 15% happens and you end up looking it overall. But it's also important for you guys to like understand like where the equity swings lie. Like the fact that he didn't play something there changed our win percentage. We're up like 25% off of his pass there. Maybe 20%. It's a lot. I might be exaggerating, but it's a shit ton of net win percent. It's like some of the highest swings you can ever see off of an action like that. And yeah, I think it's important to identify. So we like the Demolitionist when he can't counter, and right now single combat is just a little too rough. So I'll play the other Disciple. I'm not giving him any unique counters by playing this Disciple here, unless his card is War Shafts, and then he can kill both. We know he doesn't have War Shafts. And also he kind of wants to kill Teemo. These are pretty good draws. I'm happy with this here. Like, if we didn't have units, sometimes drawing Decimate early is like the worst nightmare, but I'm fine with it here. Left your channel when you started playing Burn, came back later, still playing Burn. Bye-bye. Yeah, later, man. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. I know. I'm honestly... I gotta say, I'm not too sure why that impression of the deck is so popular. I think it seems very boring if you don't understand it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everyone who finds it boring simply doesn't understand it. That's not what I'm trying to say. It seems boring if you're thinking about it just as like more basic than it is. And it's definitely like, it's kind of like a very unfun deck to play against. I think it's kind of fun to play and to watch though. There's a ton to think about. You're kind of playing a different game than normal. It's like you're playing with different rules, and usually when you lose, it's by, in terms of defense, it's by miles, not inches. So it feels kind of like polarizing and swingy. Yeah, that's all true. What's that pass? I want reactivity. I mean, he can't really pass. Like, if he skips his attack, I'm even more happy, right? I don't know. I think Burn is a lot more interesting than, like, Bannerman. I shouldn't say a lot more. I would say more, and I would say Bannerman isn't, like, you know, super bad to watch. So if I Mystic Shot this Fiora now, he has to single combat right now, or maybe Ranger's Resolve. It does sort of suck that unless I force out the single combat now, I'll never feel safe to demo. How many Rangers Resolve? Do these decks all run one Resolve now, or are a lot of them still running two? I think it's insane to Mystic Shot this. I think that's actually completely insane. I'd love to, but if he has Resolve, we throw. And here's a really big deal that's important to understand, which is it just comes down to the value of different things that you have, right? Like, we've got the anti-single combat now, that he's taking the 1 damage on his Fiora. But most importantly, moving forward, if you let Resolve get value as a card, you're not doing your job as Burn. I don't know if I'm attacking here. Let's do this. This is so weird. I don't know. Burn kind of doesn't like attacking. I think I'll just skip this attack.
Show them our strength.
What is strength without style?
It's like, it's sort of weird, but I need to start playing defensive now. Because he can race us down if I don't get both of my decimates off. But as long as I just wall up, he loses to the decimates, right? So I have to shift into playing very defensive here. If we were going to attack, we were going to open attack. But we decided before we attacked to not attack there. Yeah, we're good here. I am kind of overthinking at this point. I'm gonna make 2 points after this game in terms of thinking about Burn. 2 really important ones. There's no way to lose at this point? Yeah, this shouldn't be losable. I can't imagine any hands. That would be weird. This is slow rolling. I have 2 Mystic Shots and I'm passing here. What am I playing around? This is rude. Yeah, it's actually just rude. It's actually if you don't play poker, it probably doesn't seem that rude to you, but slow rolling, like even like a little bit, is like one of the rudest things you can do. In this case, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm just like making sure I'm not forgetting about some weird card he could have that makes double Mystic not a win. Just because sometimes you forget about cards. Okay, so the 2 points I'm going to make about Burn and how it gets played. Okay, so the first thing is that part of the reason why we didn't Mystic Shot that Fiora. So Mystic Shotting units is something that you want to do in some situations and not others. I think a lot of people, when they first play Burn, are thinking to themselves, well, my spells should go to the Nexus. And that's a good rule of thumb, and that's not always true. The biggest reason that's true is because by sending spells into units, you are enabling opponents' value off of specifically cards that can't otherwise get value. Examples of these cards are going to be stuff like healing cards for units. So that would be Chain Vest, Ranger's Resolve, Elixir of Iron, Twin Disciplines, and even some things like Glimpse or Single Combat that can get extra value if they don't have to sacrifice the unit. That's often the biggest reason why. If you're not worried about enabling those cards, well, then by all means, there's plenty of situations where you should actually send your spells into units as Burn. And I think people underutilize that. Grossly underutilize those kinds of situations. Just think about the game in terms of that, in terms of like denying value. We talk about aggro and control a lot. Like I say, you want to play a lot faster or a little slower than your opponent. Why is that? Well, it's because of the idea of like Nexus health and health being a resource and stabilizing for more value at lower health, and then you win. Pretty much. There's a few other reasons. The biggest thing is that when the aggro deck is... Think about it like this. If you're evaluating it from a value framework, which you kind of shouldn't because aggro is not about value, but let's think about it in terms of value. When you win the game, when you set your opponent's Nexus to 0, you make them discard their entire hand. That seems like a weird way. It's like almost backwards thinking about it like that, but I think it could be really helpful for a lot of players. When you win the game, the opponent discards all their hand. And what that means is like winning the game when they have more cards in their hand is more valuable than winning the game when they have less cards in their hand. Again, that sounds like it shouldn't make any sense, and depending on how you're thinking about it, it might not, but it makes plenty of sense. That's kind of like how aggro works. You want to basically brick a lot of options in the opponent's hands and make sure you're winning before those resources come online, because time means mana and mana means cards, right? And whoever has more cards has more value from time. And I think that might be very helpful to think about that concept as a new player. As a burn deck, you want to make the opponent discard more cards out of their hands. That's the value approach, right? You do this in aggro by killing them quick, and like I said, burn isn't always aggro, but it usually is. If I Mystic Shot a Fiora that's been buffed, and they use a health potion on her, that's fine. Because their health potion could have gone to Nexus. That could have been a useful card. But the whole point of burn is to trivialize the concept of board, fighting, and unit value, which means that cards of that subcategory, and a lot of those are like barriers, sometimes like frostbite effects because they're not gonna have enough value against burn, stuff like plus health or even often plus attack, we brick those cards in the same way that the point of elusives is to brick blockers. There's one really big change that Teemo to Rearguard to Teemo does. It's not the same deck anymore. What's the biggest change that Teemo to Rearguard does? It's not intuitive. You no longer have a 2 health 1-drop. It's really huge. Because here's the thing. Against things that deal 1 damage to your board, namely, this is stuff like Whale, or this is stuff like Make It Rain, but this can also be stuff like Static Shock that does multi-target 1 health units. What this means is that suddenly, because you have 9 1 health units, you have a hard time playing these in a lot of scenarios against those decks. Red card. Yeah, red card is a big one. I forgot to mention. It's huge. It's hard to explain how big of a deal that is. Because what that means is I don't think this deck wants to run 9 1-drops anymore. It got away with running 9 1-drops because we were able to develop enough of them to not have to worry about that, because rearguard, 33% of your 1-drops had 2 health. I think that's a really, really, really big deal. And I think the single change of forcing you into a 9th 1 health unit is enough to make optimal versions of Burn slow the fuck down. I think it's very possible that the correct way to play this deck is to cut Saboteur and add in like Progress Day or Augmented Experimenter. Or maybe cut Teemo or Pet. I don't know. But that single change of just losing that third 1-drop that had 2 health, it was so important that you didn't have 9 1 health units in your deck. It was so important. And now, all of a sudden, this deck needs to slow down because you just can't run 9 1-drops anymore, in my opinion. So it seems like a small change that you could just swap in Teemo, and it is not. I think it fundamentally changes the archetype.